Why trees?
I had no interest in trees until about 20 years ago, when I used to go for runs with a friend of mine on Saturday mornings, and for some reason we developed an interest in naming trees, and we became quite competitive. So that we would run round and see if we could find out trees that we hadn't seen before, and see if any of either of us knew them. And that's really, curiously, how it sort of started.
About 12 years ago, really.
Right.
When a friend, asked me if I had 3 wishes, what would I wish for? And the previous day I had been, I think, hung about on Waterloo Station for about 3 hours in the rush hour. And I remember saying what I'd like would be 7 acres of woodland, because I've always liked going into woods, that was mine and that I could go into, and I didn't see anybody and there were no trees, and I could just be there and be in this peaceful woodland. And it was a bit of a sort of jokey response, but we started talking about it, Bernie and I, and he'd become interested in naming trees and identifying them. And we thought, well, why not? Why don't we do that?
And Gwen, my wife, has always been interested in trees. She really has. I mean, I was brought up in a flat, so I knew nothing about things. She kind of spent a lot of her childhood in the country, but she's always been, and she always wanted a patch of land with trees in it, which was away from everything, and so she could sort of forget the world, as it were. And I kind of came round to this idea, and by this time I was getting really interested in different sorts of trees, and my identification skills were improving a lot. So we looked for ages. This was about 12 years ago. We spent ages looking for somewhere in the country.
And then I rang up a woman who found properties and found woods for you, and she found us 3 or 4 that we could afford, and that was 5 to 7 acres, and that's how we really started.
We found this place in Somerset, West Somerset, which was a disused quarry, and it was overgrown. There'd be some very, very nice trees there already, actually, oaks and beeches. But
we have 5 acres,
right.
and we have been clearing. I mean, it's a neglected woodland. It hasn't had anything done to it for 50 years. So we've been managing is a horrible word, but actually people say, "Oh, you're managing a wood." We are clearing away dead trees and dead branches. Some dead branches, not all. You leave as much as you can now because of the insect life. And planting, where clearing bracken, because a lot of it, I would say probably 2.5 acres of this woodland were bracken or brambles. So we've cleared a lot of that and planted up trees that we both like, that we find interesting. And I'm particularly planting up more and more fruit trees. I've always done that. So I've got about 50 fruit trees here now.
like we're completely naive, at least I was. I had no idea about what sort of soil you needed, water and so on and so forth. I didn't check the soil, which turned out to be mostly quarry spill, which was a mixture of sand, a lot of stone, because it was called chert around there. It's flint stone. It's unbelievably tough stuff, and it's everywhere. And some clay, not much loam, but fortunately for us, about 6 to 9 inches of well-rotted bracken, which gives an acidic soil, and that actually was rather good. Most trees quite like an acidic soil. There are a few that don't, but most of them do like acidic soil. And then we started planting and clearing, and without any thought about watering. So for the first year or so, we transported water in buckets up the hill. It looked rather like Jean de Florette. It really was like Jean, until I found an old industrial central heating pump. So I could pump up water from the roof of the house to storage tanks up on the hill, which are about 50 to 100 feet up. And so we've got lots of adequate water. And in fact, I'm rather proud of the fact we've lost hardly any trees at all, and none to drought, mostly to deer and squirrels and stuff. And then, so we planted. Did we have a planting plan? No. We just saw trees we liked.
Apricot, peach, damson, 15 cherries. We've got a little cherry orchard, little apple orchard, pears, plums, kiwi fruit, a couple of figs. It's quite a mixed bunch, yeah.
And I had the idea of planting unusual trees and beautiful trees which had some special character, like lovely leaves in the autumn, or beautiful berries, or lovely bark. And we've gradually built up a collection of over 300 trees, some of them quite rare. We've planted some beautiful pine trees and other conifers, spruces and things like that there, firs. And gradually the thing has taken shape. It's sort of taken shape of its own accord. To my amazement, the soil conditions didn't matter. They loved it. The trees love it. They absolutely love it. And that's, what, 800 feet up. They just love this. They love the soil. Obviously, you don't feed trees, but as long as you plant them properly, and some of them were difficult to plant. Some of them weighed up to quarter ton, half a ton. We've got one which is called a Mexican weeping pine, Pinus patula, which doesn't really like cold weather. It loves it. And it's in a terribly exposed position. And we've got another one which is a Montezuma pine, Pinus montezumi, which is quite relatively uncommon in this country. And they're supposed to be very prone to frost damage and so on. Loves it. Absolutely loves it. They just carry on growing. My favourite is the Pinus patula, which is the Mexican weeping pine, which is a stunningly beautiful tree. We call her Dolores. The really Dolores is just quite extraordinarily beautiful. With drooping needles and soft and it's very seductive, very sexy. It's a terribly sexy tree, and it really.
Oh, I see. You think it's a male tree?
Oh, that must be male. It's got the spores.
Oh, right.
Because it doesn't have any flowers, and I don't know. So
well, it could still be called Dolores.
Well, we were thinking of renaming it Gonzales, or Pancho, or something. But I love this tree.
It is a stunning tree.
I mean, I just love it, and I think this may be one of the better examples around. Actually, this one. And it's supposed to be semi-tropical, so it shouldn't really survive. But it loves it here. It absolutely loves it. Isn't it extraordinary how it's a very soft to touch? I just find it a very beautiful.
It's extraordinary. It kind of, in a funny kind of way, it reminds me of a woolly mammoth.
Well, yeah, well, I can see why. I mean, you feel it. It's so unlike normal pine cones, which tend to be rather pine things which tend to be rather stiff. And this is just so soft. Isn't it so beautiful?
It's stunning.
I think it's such a lovely tree, this one. I really love it. If anything happened to this, I think I'd be very sad. Anyway, so it gets covered up with straw and stuff, and so on. It's really pretty, isn't it?
There's one that we never planted, which is the ancient beech, which is called Big Boy, which has a span of over 40 metres.
Oh, wow.
And it really is. It's a magnificent tree, very mysterious. very terribly mysterious tree. It really is.
Now, which is Big Boy?
Oh, Big Boy. You see, it's what I love about Big Boy is you don't know until you get there.
Oh, I see.
It's the head there. It'd be worthwhile just walking through, holding that.
Right.
Walking through that, you can
Yeah.
easily get past that.
Yeah.
And then you get into this kind of magic place.
I see. Well, let's hope this works.
I won't even brush things apart. You push your way through it and you'll get in.
Yeah.
Into the secret world of Big Boy. Now tell me if that isn't awe-inspiring.
It is.
This ancient beach, which I think is, well, I worked out probably about 250 or 300 years old, this beach. It's a beautiful, beautiful beach. And you see the span, it's about
Yeah.
40-metre span. It spans right over to those trees and right over to the track. It's about 40 metres of span. And this is something else. I think there's something very, very elemental about this tree, very primitive.
Pretty good.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's pretty good
I
stuff.
don't think you'll see a finer beach than that.
Anything living in the box?
We normally have owls, but
Right.
you see the top of it has fallen in.
Oh, right.
So, no, they won't be nesting there now. These are all sons and daughters of Big Boy.
I think for anybody who's interested in nature, I mean, and has some basic knowledge of genetics, what is quite extraordinary is the manner in which these trees, or plants, let's talk about trees because that's what I'm talking about, behave. They bring out the same shaped leaves every year, programmed genetically. They bring them out at roughly the same time. Similar species develop at the same time. He's absolutely right about trees, about tropism. You will see it with our trees. I mean, those trees which are growing near other trees will grow away from them to seek the light. They would really do that. And if you cut back, for example, things which are obstructing the light, they will then develop shoots, and branches will change shape so that they can take advantage of the light that's been there. Now, how does all this happen? I mean, that's one of the things that absolutely fascinates me. It really, really fascinates me, is how does the genetics get translated into behavior? I mean, you could say this about human beings too. I mean, it's a complete mystery. The mystery between the structure of DNA and morphology and behavior. I mean, it is a total mystery. We know that trees are the same basic nucleic acids exist throughout the whole of nature, and yet, you know, we are in many ways very similar to trees. I mean, to any plant, we're all very similar, and yet subtle differences make these enormous subtle differences in DNA make these enormous differences to the outcome, and that's still a total mystery area, although I think people do understand much more about it than they did. But translating, as I was saying before, translating a DNA strand which you've decodified, or into what happens is that there's a gap. We don't know. We just don't know, because we can't identify. Our powers of identification are just not sufficient to be able to say, well, this tree has a heart-shaped leaf, this tree has an elliptical leaf, this tree has a serrated leaf. Why? I don't know why. I mean, nobody knows why.
Trees and psychoanalysis.
Oh, right, okay, okay.
I mean, is there anything in trees that you recognise that relates to your own profession?
Not a lot, no.
I'll have to dig her
Well,
out.
they have lots of symbolic value, of course, the psychoanalysts, don't they? But I think the world has moved on from that, really, and over the last 100 years. No, I don't think. I have to say, it's an absolute relief for me, having spent my life listening to people and trying to understand them, to come across a living creature, a living something that actually doesn't demand any understanding at all. If you water them and you prepare the ground properly and you look after their branches and you make sure they don't get too many diseases and you give them space to grow, they're fine. It's so wonderful, it's so rewarding. They don't moan. The only thing they do is they die if you don't look after them properly, which is but certainly you don't have to understand them, and having spent my life trying to understand it, it's such a relief not to have to understand them.
When you're planting trees,
Yes.
do you sit back and think in a way that you're putting together some sort of canvas? Do you
Yes, we do
a
a bit.
view?
Yes. I do try and think, now what's this going to look like in 50 years' time? Insofar as you can. What space will it fill? How will it relate to the others? I do try and do that. Although I don't have a planting plan. I mean, some people say, well, what's your planting plan? And I said, well, find a space. It's the planting plan.
But presumably,
Yes.
in the planting and thinking about the colour,
Yes,
what
yes,
things will
yeah,
look
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you have a point of view plan.
Yes, I do. In the sense that I will think to myself, I think this one will probably look better here than there in 20 years' time.
But when you say here and there, relative to
What's going on around it, to the other trees around it, how it will. You see, if
But
you
I
have
mean, sorry, just briefly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to be a bit more precise here.
Yeah.
When you sort of look at the
Yes.
particular
Yes.
landscape or
Yes.
picture in front
Yes.
of you of your trees,
Yeah.
presumably you're standing in a particular vantage point, so that you read the picture before you from a specific place.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Well,
or are there many places? That
No, I walk around.
Right.
I walk around. It's not. I suppose I understand what you mean by split, but I walk around and I look at the thing and I think, well, how will this change it? And how will it relate to the others? Insofar as you can. I mean, in the sense, beggars can't be choosers because we haven't got that much land.
Sure.
Should I plant this next to that one? And there are various constraints and advantages to planting one tree next to another. So in that sense, I do actually have a plan, but it's an ad hoc plan, if you can have such a thing as an ad hoc plan. It's of the time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But when I'm choosing a tree, I don't think I'm choosing this because I think it'll fit in well here. I choose it because I have a look at it. I research the tree and I have all the pictures of it, and I think, oh my, I've got to have one of those. I must have one of those. That's so beautiful.
and so in your creating your canvas,
Yes,
in a sense,
yeah.
do you well, it's a 3D image, so
Yeah.
you see yourself looking at it from different vantage points.
Yes.
So that it's a constantly sort of rotating.
Yes, that's right.
vision.
That's right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Insofar as you can.
In your creating this landscape and your clearing, do you see yourself as kind of writing a landscape or painting a landscape, or
I don't see myself as creating. Oh, well, hang on, that's not quite right. Do I feel myself?
I mean, because you talk about
interesting
effectively-
question. Of course, I am creating things. I have never ever considered it. I don't see myself. I'm not a very creative person. I don't think. Maybe I am. I don't think I am. I'm reasonably imaginative. I mean, I don't know what creation means anyway. I mean, but I'm reasonably imaginative. I don't think excessively so. What am I creating?
Well, more or less, I'm thinking
Yes.
specifically in terms of do you see it as I mean, certainly an artistic exercise, no matter how you look at it, but whether or not you see it as a writing exercise,
Well-
or in the sense that you are writing across a landscape,
Oh, I see
with
what you mean.
trees, or whether or not you see it as a pictorial exercise.
I think it's a pictorial
Or-
exercise. It's a pictorial exercise.
or both.
Well, I don't see it as a writing.
Combined.
I don't see it as a writing exercise, except one can write about it. But I don't see it.
You don't see it as writing with trees.
Not. I don't think I properly understand how that. No, I don't think so. I think it is a pictorial. I think it is pictorial, or sculptural. I think
Yeah.
it's sculptural actually.
Okay.
That's interesting. I've never thought of it. I think it would be sculptural. There are lots of sculptures, and they're growing sculptures. I think I like that. No, I think that's the closest I can get to it. More than writing. I'd have to read. I'd have to think that. I'm not
Right.
sure. Yeah.
Because I, of course, would see it as a writing exercise.
Well, you would.
are using.
Well, but in a
effectively
sense,
creating something because people look at it and
Yeah.
interpret it in their own way, just as you would read a book.
Yes.
It's obviously stretching it, but that's how I would.
Well, I think it's.
would see it.
It's a perfect. I understand. It's a very reasonable way of looking at it. I can see that. I've just never considered it, and I never considered it as any sort of exercise in that way. I mean, it's really a piece, from my point of view, it's a piece of indulgence. I haven't seen this as an artistic, as an artistic effort. It's just I think it's totally indulgent. It's for the first time. That's what it is, you see. For the first time in my life, I'm doing something I don't have to do.
Sorry, just going back to the beginning.
Yes, yes.
Your initial appreciation
Yes.
was aesthetic, or was
It's
it
interesting.
something else?
I think it was a kind of intellectual competitiveness about remembering the names of trees. I've always I find trees beautiful, but I don't think I would have thought to myself, "Gosh, isn't this beautiful?" You know. Now it's my sort of competitive thing has changed. I'm not interested in that anymore. I'm much more interested in the beauty of the things.
Right.
And I think a lot of it is that I got something to do with it. I think that's the other thing. I think that's so important, that I've got something to do with these beautiful things growing in the ground. And you get quite. I'm not a religious person at all. In fact, I don't believe in it at all. But you do get, there's a sort of equivalent of a spiritual feeling. You know, I mean, you go up there and your heart fills up, and sometimes I might even well up with tears. You know, there's the absolutely beautiful things. I look at them and I think, oh, you're so beautiful.